What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the story of season 3. Y'all know the deal. This season is dedicated to the realest, the greatest of all time. He a little tired right now. He did not do his hair. He's wearing a cap. Emmanuel Pierce.
I got a haircut.
Oh, okay, nice. That looks good. I hadn't seen that. You and
I
Bowie are
just,
matching.
I just feel like having a hat on today.
Well, everybody watching at home, wherever you may be, go ahead and subscribe before we even get started. Like I said, you guys know the deal. YouTube, you know what's up. This is the story of season 3, Emmanuel Pierce. I am sitting here with the only person in 2021 that still wears corduroy pants, Michael Bowie. Michael, what's going on?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, the Mexican version of Muggsy Bowes. It's so good to see you here. And to be back here doing it up. We are nearing
Mhm.
the end. There's only a few episodes left here with the story of Emmanuel Pierce. And we just finished talking about his life in high school. So now, not high school, sorry, college.
High school.
It was high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're jumping into
I've,
college.
I've
We're
been
jumping.
drinking.
God damn it, black man
Out
drinking.
of
Well,
high
why don't you
school.
take
We're
us?
moving. We're moving into college.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
It's okay.
There you
I'll have
go.
your mom call and correct me like she does you. Don't worry. Don't give me that look like I don't mess up and make mistakes. Here we are going to college. The thing is that I'm
Mhm.
confused, and this is kind of a spoiler, which kind of confused me. You went to college twice, in my opinion, because you had college and law school. So here we are at college. This is what we're covering today. So tell me a little bit about that. Where did you go to college? What was your major? And how was that experience within those first few, I don't know, months?
So the decision of which college to go to was kind of sporadic. I was supposed to go to North Carolina A&T with a friend, which is a historically black college or university. I was supposed to go to North Carolina A&T with a friend that was
Shouts
also
out.
going down there. But my plans changed once he decided to go to another school. I believe he went to Southern. And so since he went to Southern and North Carolina A&T wasn't giving me exactly the amount of money that I wanted to get, um, I made a last minute audible in like June to go to Eastern Michigan in Ypsilanti. So that is where I went to college. I went to Eastern Michigan University.
You
Uh,
don't need a lot of money for
and they
Eastern.
don't really tell you about like picking a major when you show up there. Everybody thinks like they know what they want to do when they get there, and a lot of people don't. But there are some people who are like, okay, I want to do this, but they don't tell you what major to pick. They just ask you, what major do you want? So
Well, you don't need a lot of money for Eastern. I went there too. You can pretty much get in if you trade them a pack of Scooby snacks and a juice
That's
box.
not
You pretty much
okay.
are in.
That's not.
so I I remember the orientation, just like not knowing what to pick. But I had told somebody that I was interested in going to law school because that obviously had always been my dream. So they were like, "Oh, you should be a political science major. Most people who go to law school are political science majors." So that was my major, was political science, with a minor in business.
Is that the
Uh,
major that most people go to, or is that just what they suggested when wanting to become a lawyer?
Most people who go to law school are either political science or economics majors.
Hmm.
Um, those are just the numbers. Uh, so I wasn't going to be no econ major. Political science it was for me, minor in business, and my first days in college. So I went to what the new student orientation that they had those first few days, like with my group, and like met some people, met some friends. Like I felt like that was my way to get kind of socialized into college. And through that connection, I mean, immediately my social life was opened up because my I want to say like I don't even remember what they called it now because it's been so long, but like my NSOA person or whatever was in the fraternity, so he invited me over to play video games with them. I think we played like Mario Kart or Smash Brothers or something like that, and that's the fraternity that I ended up joining. So that is the beginning. Kind of sparked my social life at
So you
Eastern.
didn't really have a desire really to be in a fraternity? That just
Uh,
kind of going over there is what sparked that?
yeah, it just kind of happened. Honestly, like I was hanging out with him, and I was hanging out with somebody else in another fraternity, and they were both just like, "You should join." And I'm like, they both were like, "Show up to this meeting." Uh, where basically they give you a bid to join the fraternity. They're like, just show up to this meeting that we're having if you're interested, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't show up to one of them. I showed up to the other one. And like all the other people that were there for like all the other freshmen, they were all dressed nice. I was in like a sweatpants and a hoodie. Like
Unprofessional.
I had my headphones off, was not taking it serious. I walked in there, they asked me like a few questions about me as a person, and then I walked right back out. Like it just kind of happened. I met one person, that I thought was cool, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, these are other people that I can hang out with. And again, not knowing everything about it.
So it's not like the movies where like you have to pledge and do some type of wild and crazy thing to get in, or can you not
No,
talk of it because you're like in the Illuminati or something?
no, our fraternity was specifically no hazing, so I didn't have to do anything wild or crazy to get
Wait,
it.
so there are certain ones that actually do that.
No one is supposed to haze, but we have a commitment to not hazing.
No
Just
question.
because you're not supposed to do something doesn't mean people don't do it.
Right.
But I'm not gonna speak on them because I don't know.
Don't incriminate anybody. I have a question. Going back to what you said at the beginning, you said that they wouldn't give you enough money to go to the HBCU.
Mhm.
Now, so then you had a scholarship, right? That's what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I got a scholarship to North Carolina A&T, but it was a partial scholarship, and I was still gonna pay out of state tuition, which was like
Oh,
almost 40 grand a year.
yeah.
So even with the like maybe like 25,000 of that, it still was gonna be more than what I paid at Easter, which was almost practically almost covered.
Now,
So
Now this was because of football, or this was because of your wits, your smartness.
my grades is what got me a scholarship. The only football offers that I had were from Division III schools, and I had a coach tell me, you know, uh, he gave me a really good piece of advice, which was you got to know uh, when to put your academics ahead of sports. Yes, I could have went to a D3 school and played football, but at the same time, it's kind of like, or I can go to Division I school and go to a school and get a better education. So he gave me some really sound advice, and I took that advice.
now it
Nice.
sounds like you already took on a lot just to be at inside of school.
Mhm.
Going to law school. It's not like you're going for business. Not to say that business is a easy walkthrough of a degree, but law school is definitely harder. It's like medical school, and so what kinds of things did you take on in addition to that? Did you have jobs and work any jobs during that time? Did you do any other extracurricular? Obviously, you're saying at least not football. Did you do any other sports or any other things that were added to your load of work with school and fraternity?
So really the fraternity kind of took a majority of my time because it was so busy. Like there was always stuff to do between like that kind of encompassed everything. Like we did athletics, we did philanthropy. It just took so much of my time doing all sorts of stuff. And not to mention we met every Sunday. So that was a good time sucker in college. And I want to say I was able to balance everything out pretty well because like once I finished my second year at Eastern, I took on another major because I was already done with political science. Like it wasn't a long major, and most of the general eds that you had to take, general education credits, were political science classes. So I was done after two after 2 years, and I took on a communications major. As well as finishing my business minor. So other than that, I did join mock trial, which is like a competition, like a lawyer type competition. You have two teams that compete against each other. One is prosecution, one is defense, and the American Bar Trial Association puts out like this mock case, and then you argue that case in front of people who are like attorneys or just judging the competition. So I did mock trial my junior year, And I want to say that was the only other extracurricular I really participated in. Just because, like I said, I was so busy with all that other stuff.
You didn't partake in any like part-time jobs. You didn't have a side hustle.
Oh,
Michael
jobs, yeah,
was in
jobs.
college.
I had a lot of jobs. So when I first started my freshman year, I worked at White Castle for a while. And I worked at White Castle in high school. I started that in high school and I transferred to a location that's out there in Ipsy. But I hated that job. And the moment I turned 18, they just put me on nights because they didn't want to put anybody else on nights. Like I never had a day shift.
What was your
And
job title?
again,
What did you do?
at White Castle, you do everything: burgers, cashier, uh, fries. Like
Damn, they desperate out here.
unless you're a manager, you don't have a job title. You just do whatever they ask you to do. So you're employee, employee X, employee Y. You're just all employees. You don't really like have a specific set role when you come there. I cashiered a majority of my time there, but you don't really have a set role. I was either cashier or burgers, one or the other. Um, so I was getting tired of having to work there and just like not enjoying the job. I didn't like the management. And one of my fraternity brothers was working at FedEx and it paid more. I was making like $8 at White Castle. And FedEx paid like $10 just coming in the door. So
You worked at FedEx?
yeah, I did work at FedEx.
That
I
explains why
worked
most of my packages were late.
No, I worked at FedEx my freshman all the way to the beginning of my sophomore year from 3 to 8 a.m. in the morning.
God damn.
I hated that job. I fell asleep in class because of that job. Like that job was crazy. And I really kind of burned myself out that end of that second half of freshman year because I would work at FedEx from 3 to 8, and then I volunteered to be a tour guide for Fast Track, which is the orientation that I was talking about. So I would work from FedEx from 3 to 8, come to Fast Track. I would be late there because obviously I'm getting off at 8 o'clock. Come to Fast Track, and I will work Fast Track from 8:30 to 2.
Good old Fast Track. I remember that place.
So basically, I was working a job from 3 to 2. I had a lot of money, but I was exhausted. And but by the time FedEx was paying me so much money, like I was making $15 an hour in like less than 2 months. Like they just throwing raises at people. They'd be throwing out money at FedEx. So just throwing money at FedEx.
Listen up, White Castle. Take notes.
So, but I got tired of doing FedEx too. And I kind of switched my job after that to just being a tour guide for Eastern. And so that was my primary job my sophomore year. And then my junior year, I transitioned into being a RA, which is like a residential advisor.
Did you realize you had too much like going on? You had too much dip in your chip, like because your grades started falling, and then you made that switch, or how did you?
Nah, it was falling asleep in class, honestly. Like I had this philosophy class, and like obviously philosophy is not the most interesting class in the world, but I love the professor. He was like super cool or whatever. So I enjoyed his class. And before I started working at FedEx and really getting tired because of all the working that I was doing with multiple jobs, I was always engaged and interested in this class. So the day I fell asleep in the classroom, he woke me up and he sat down and he was like, "Are you okay? You're not as vocal, you're not as involved." And I just told him, I'm like, "I'm working like a madman." And he was like, "Well, sometimes your mental health and preserving your rest and preserving just your well-being is more important than making all the money in the world." And so I kind of took that piece of advice and just kind of like, I was like, okay, I got to dial this back. Like I got to kind of shelve some stuff off when I can. And I still got an A in that class too, by the way. But so it didn't affect my grades per se. It just it affected my social. I would say I was less social. Every time I would go to something, I would fall asleep because I was tired,
Did you have any girlfriend? I mean, out of the plethora that either you dumped or that
This man
dumped
talking about a
you,
plethora.
Yeah, what the hell
did
was
you
that?
have a
What? Okay,
girlfriend during this
go
time?
ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, girlfriends freshman year. Freshman year, I didn't date anybody. Um, I had girls that I was interested in and that I would spend time with, but was I committed to them? No.
You told them
Yeah, I'm
that you
just
were
gonna
too busy pushing teachers and
I'm
exhausting
just gonna be
yourself.
honest about it. Like, I wasn't I was trying, but like I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. Um sophomore year I had one girlfriend and again some other girls that I was talking to. It's college,
What happened to her from sophomore year?
We broke up.
Who broke up with who? What happened? Let's get
She
into
broke
it.
up with me because I refused to break up with her, but she was on some BS. Um
Yeah, that's you don't need that. Yeah, you don't
Manny,
need
going
that.
and toast to that. Going and drink to
You
that.
don't need that. You don't.
so I broke up with her and then I only had one other girlfriend after that, and that was my wife.
Nice.
When did you meet her?
I met her actually my sophomore year while I was dating this other person. Um, she worked in the same office as I did, giving out tours, and so we just both happened to be working this event called Digital Divas together for. It was like for younger girls to get interested in the field of science, technology, engineering, and math. Um, so it was just an event like trying to get them interested in that, and we ended up working that together. We became good friends, I would say, and then over the summer, our friendship just kind of evolved. After I broke up with the person I was with, and after she broke up with the person she was with, our friendship just kind of evolved into a relationship, and we've been together ever since. So
Nice. So for all the ladies out there, he is off the market.
yes, no,
Um,
I'm not available.
He is
I
done
want to.
pushing adults
I'm
and
not. I'm not available.
Okay. All right. All right. Anyway, let's get back on track here.
so
I want to ask you about. Michael, it's my turn.
okay.
I want to ask you about how things were with your father at this point in time while you were at Eastern. How were things with your dad? You know.
I talked to him less. A, because I was just living my life,
Mm.
and B, because I felt like when he would call, sometimes I wouldn't answer just because I felt like I didn't want to really talk to him about anything. Like I feel like this was a point in my life where my disdain for him not being there reached a higher level, and like me wanted to not be engaged with him. He would still write me and like send me stuff, and like he always had my address. I always did give him my address.
Did he know
um
you got accepted into Eastern? Did he know the
yeah,
choices?
he knew all about that stuff.
Okay.
Where I went to school, like I kept in touch but not as much. I mean, I really stopped talking to him as much. And then I think my junior year, to bring back up the Wickers, this is why they're super important. Mrs. Wickers sent, she called me and she was like, "You should go see your dad. You're old enough now to go see him on your own. You got your license. I will give you money for a rental car to go see him." Like just trying to be helpful and facilitate that. I was just not in the space for that. I didn't want to drive, you know, 3 hours because he was in, I think, Chippewa Correction or something like that. He was very far away. It wasn't where he is now. And so, it was a longer drive. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to stop my life to have to go visit him. And I just wasn't interested in talking to him about what I was feeling.
And so that was just because of like your resentment towards him not kind of being there, or was there other detours that really created a break inside of your guys' relationship? And did he notice that? How did he take that? Was he verbal to you about that? Did he try harder? Um,
I feel like he's always put in the energy and the effort to kind of reach out and be in contact. I just like, we never had a conversation about it. I felt like he realized that, I was in college and I was trying to live my life, and like he didn't want to make it seem like I was avoiding him. So he always tried his best to never put the blame for the situation on me. Um, which is a nice thing to do. But he always continued to put the effort forth to talk to me. I just sometimes did not reciprocate.
I mean, that's tough on both parties, for you not having him there, and I'm sure on him for wanting to be there and can't.
Yeah,
But that spawns from decisions that he made, and at some point, people are put in front of you in your life to kind of impact you, and have you maybe you self realize that you don't want to make the same decisions. And then him being in prison may be a life lesson to him, and it opens his eyes towards whatever life that he continues to lead. So I know that that's difficult usually on both sides. But was there a point where, like, before even getting out of college, did you remedy the relationship? Try and talk things out and make things better, or
no,
did you just go through the entire college with kind of, not a really high desire to want to talk to him?
I went through my entirety of my college career with not a super high desire. Um, I can say that I always felt guilty about it, right? Because like I feel like I live, my life by Christian principles and values, and the Bible tells us to honor your father and your mother. And to me, I never know what that line is, like to me, it's always, just respect, uh, courtesy, deferential, like. But with him, I just kind of felt guilty because I didn't feel like I was honoring him enough to pick up the phone. That was another part of the problem is the dissonance between the two positions of like, oh, I'm mad at you and I
So,
don't really want
so
to talk
not
to
to
you.
cut you off, but can you explain that distance, where you were and where he was? What was that distance in terms of a drive to get to him?
Um, I think he was in a couple prisons in my 4 years. He was in Oaks, which was about 3 or 4 hours
Ooh.
from Ipsy. Um, then he was in Chippewa something. I'm forgetting what that's called, and that was also 3 or 4 hours from Ipsy.
Why did they move him so much?
It's prison. They move you around whenever they want.
There's
Um,
no rhyme or reason as to why.
no, they move you whenever they want to move you. Once you go into any bureau of prisons or department of corrections, if they want to move you somewhere, they just move you. They don't need your permission. They don't need to ask you. This isn't like you get what you want. This is like we're just gonna put you where we want to put you. Like I know where he is now. They could up and move him tomorrow if they want
I was gonna ask that. Like, do they update the family so that family that writes him or
to.
whatever? Wow.
They don't send you a notice. They don't say, "Hey, by the way, your loved one is being moved here." It's on them to once they get to whatever facility they get to reach out to you to get their approved call list together. To make sure all their stuff is transferred over, and to reach out to you to tell you that they're in a new place. My dad's way of doing that when he moved around a lot was to send me a letter. So he would write a letter to me saying, "Hey, I'm at this new place. I'm still in the process, like getting processed and all that other stuff. When I'm done and I get settled, I'll call you."
So, can you say, I mean, is it fair to say that sort of your interest and your decision for you to go into the field of law came from your father's situation? Is it fair to say that?
Maybe partly a part of that. I don't honestly know where it came from. It was like I was 7 years old and I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. And I've been on that path ever since. Like, I have, most people like, oh, I saw a TV show and I wanted to be a lawyer, or I saw this and I saw that, or I saw a person that inspired me. It was none of that. Like, honestly, it was just like something I manifested at a young age and I followed through my whole life. Like, I I made a plan at 7, and I guess I stuck to it 20 some odd years later. I just, I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you.
Only
That
if
we
I
might
would
have to
have
bring my mom in to figure that out because I don't remember where it
only
came
if
from.
I would have stuck to that same kind of passion to this day, I would be a Power Ranger. Um,
Okay,
or a
no,
clown.
that's not no,
I
no.
mean,
Don't.
but you are a clown, so I
There
guess
you go.
everything does work out.
There you go. But I'm saying though, I mean, your whole life, your father's been incarcerated, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. I kind of want. I feel like, and I don't want to, speak on your behalf or anything, but it almost seems like that's because 7 years old is that age where you start realizing things, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, for me, I would say it sounds like maybe he had even just a little bit, maybe even a fraction
Yeah.
of,
I would say
em-
it's a part of it, but I was never like, let me be a lawyer so I can get my dad out of jail. Like
okay.
that never happened.
Was that
Like
because of the kind of lawyer that you wanted to become?
I didn't even know what kind of lawyer I wanted to be until I got to law school. I just like I said, I don't know what it was. Like,
So
you know,
okay, so can you talk about that a little bit? Because for those of you who don't know, won't know, the three of us sort of spend a little time, off camera talking, and me and Manny have changed a little bit of sort of knowledge and information, and he's actually very knowledgeable as to the process that happens with immigration law, and that's a whole
mhm.
nother side of the law system, right? Aside from criminal law, he knows
Right.
a lot about immigration law. So how do you know about all, like, I don't want to like sound like, yeah, they just teach you everything at law school, right? They don't.
Mhm.
So like, how do you know like a little bit of this, a little bit of that? How did you decide what to sort of specialize in?
So just to be clear, we're gonna jump into law school too here in this episode. I just want to be.
No, I mean, I think that we law school is its own entity,
Yeah.
but
I'll
if
answer
if your
Man's question.
answer if your answer pertains to the fact that you learned it when you went to law school, then you can keep it as simplistic as, I read books, or when I got there that
Yeah.
something kind of inspired me, and we'll go into detail when we get there. But
There you go.
Really, Manny, to answer your question, how I learned so much is just the classes that I took. They give you a little more freedom in law school to kind of, once you're done with your first year, to kind of pick and choose what you take. Immigration just happened to be a thing that I was interested in, and I liked the teacher.
so they had like a class that was just geared towards like immigration.
Yep, the whole class was just geared towards immigration law, how our immigration law has changed over time, which has changed drastically. Uh, you know, uh, you know, so stuff like that. So they have individual classes for pretty much each sector of the law, and it's up to you once you pass that first year to kind of pick and choose and dabble in what you're interested in. And that would just happen to be one of the things that I dabbled in.
So
Okay.
let me
Well, yeah.
wrap up your whole college career, because like Manny had said, it's a lot that you take in when you're 7.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes or becomes more even when you get older and now you're in college.
Right.
You've had a roller coaster of different kinds of emotions. Number one, I want to know what were some of those emotions throughout your whole life, or even just throughout college, that you had towards this resentment. Like, if you can name a lot of the emotions you remember feeling. And how did it all end with college? You've now gotten through college without your dad being there again, which is another big milestone that you would want your parents to kind of be there and experience. How did that play when you look out in graduation? He's not there. When you look at that, achieving that accolade and him not being there. So this one kind of just talks about the emotions that you've felt through all of this kind of experience.
Yeah, so I would say in college, um, my feelings, I'll separate my feelings just like as a person and then my feelings towards him. As a person, I was outgoing. I felt like I was way more of a social butterfly than I was way more outgoing. Uh, I enjoyed college. Like I enjoyed college. I made lifelong friends. I think of joy, happiness. I think of good memories. I had bad memories. The whole spectrum of emotions as a person in college, I think I experienced, but I would not change what happened for the world. I enjoyed my college experience. I enjoyed my 4 years there at Easter. As far as my feelings towards my dad, you know, I think it was just more disappointment, honestly, disappointment, um, a little bit of anger, and being upset, really. But mostly just disappointment that I couldn't share these pivotal moments of my life with someone that I wanted to share it with. I got engaged to my wife literally. I want to say the day the day before I graduated. So
from
he
from
missed my
college.
from college. He missed my engagement. He wasn't there for that. Graduation. He wasn't there for that. Um, just achieving and accomplishing that. Just wasn't there for that. So, yeah, it was kind of crazy for him not to be there, especially when I was going through the process of like choosing what law school to go to. I took the LSAT. I did pretty well. I applied to a few different schools, and I was choosing between. I was like, for sure, I was going to go to Michigan State at one point, and then like Iowa came through with a very nice and generous offer to me, and Iowa is a top 25 law school. So I was like, okay, I'm going to Iowa, which did not make my wife slash then fiance too happy. But I chose to go to law school, and really the end of my college career was just I graduated, and like literally I think the next day or two, like I even had to cut out on like my our responsibilities of closing up the building. The next day or two, I was packed up and I was going to Iowa. Because she got a job that she needed to start in Illinois. So we moved to Illinois first. She got a job that she needed to start in Illinois. And so we moved there. So I literally, like 2 days after graduation, I was gone and going off to law school.
So that covers everything up until graduation and what you've gone through. I think we're reaching that climax of the point, the height of your career. Going to law school and everything that you endured when getting there. Uh, everything kind of ramps up to some type of point until we get to where the point that you're at now. So I think that that's what we're moving into next time when we talk about your experience at law school. Um, so I want to thank you for sharing your moments and your times and your memories, your feelings for what you endured throughout your college career at Eastern. I also went to Eastern. Um, so they accepted my Scooby snacks and my juice box in order for
I
me
mean,
to
if
get
Milk
in.
Dud here can get in, sky is the limit, limit.
um, I know that you always wanted to be a lawyer since you were younger, and Manny always wanted to be just a little bit taller since he was little. So, I mean, we all have those dreams and those wants and those desires, but I do want to thank everybody for being here, my co host, my guest, Emmanuel Pierce. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode, and stay tuned to next week where we will learn more about the story of Emmanuel Pierce.
Oh wait, I thought we were gonna learn more about that glare coming from your forehead, but guess not. Guess we gotta wait for season 4 for that.
Well, you take off that hat and we will get to it more. And that's where we end the show. Take care, everybody.